In this lecture, we're going to see how we can use an initializer with a range-based for loop. And this is a convenience that was added in C++20 to help you do things better if you are doing something like this, for example. Suppose we have a number which is going to be a multiplier, and we're going to be multiplying that number with whatever it is we have in a collection. For example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. And we want to multiply this with this number in our range-based for loop here. So what we can do is declare this on the outside and go in the loop and multiply it like this. And we're going to be printing all these things out. But again, this multiplier has leaked out in the outer scope. We can change it by error or even not have the option to declare another variable that is called multiplier1. But we really only need this inside the loop. So C++20 added a convenience to make this limited to the scope of the for loop. And the syntax to do that is ridiculously simple. So you just move that declaration inside the loop as an initializer. We have seen how we could do that with if and switch, I guess. And it is basically the same concept extended to a ranged-based for loop. And if we run this, it is going to do exactly what we want. It's going to multiply each element with our multiplier, and it's going to print the result. And if we try to use a multiplier here on the outside of the loop, we're going to get an error because it's not going to be in scope. This is really what this lecture is all about. We're going to head over to Visual Studio Code and play with us. Here we are in our working folder. The current project is for loop with init condition. We're going to grab our template project and we're going to put it in place. Let's do that. And we're going to open this in Visual Studio Code pretty fast. So we're going to open for loop with init condition. We're going to select that. And this is going to open our project here. We're going to open up our main CPP file and we're going to remove what we don't need here. Let's go up a little bit. And we are going to go down and put in the code we want to play with. The first thing we want to do is declare a double variable. For example, we're going to call it multiplier, and we're going to initialize this to a 4. Why not? And we're going to do a range-based for loop in here. So we're going to say for auto I n. We're going to specify the collection. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is going to do, I guess. So let's say 10 properly. And we're going to jump into the body of the loop and we're going to say stdcout result, and we're going to print the result. Result is going to be whatever I we got from the container or the collection, and we're going to multiply that with our multiplier. And after that, we're going to say stdendl. So what we're going to get is 4, 8, 12, and we're going to go all the way to 40. And that's going to be because we are multiplying with this multiplier here. Let's bring up the terminal so that we have a nice and clean way to run this. We're going to build with GCC as we always do. We're going to go down, clear, run rooster. And this is going to say what we expect here. These are the results. But now the multiplier here is leaking into the outer scope. That is to the outside of our range-based for loop here. For example, on the outside, we can print it, multiplier, and we're going to be able to access it. And if we build this, it is going to build fine. So let's do that. The build is going to be good. If we clear and run rooster, we're going to get our value and we're going to say the multiplier. But sometimes we don't want this. So what we can do is make this declaration here an init condition in this range-based for loop. So what we're going to do is take it and move it inside the loop here. So we're going to make it first, and then we're going to put a semicolon, and this is going to do what we want. And the moment we do this, this variable here is going to be scoped inside the body of the loop. You can't use it outside the loop. And you see that Visual Studio Code is already complaining. It's saying this thing is undefined, and it is undefined because it is defined only in the scope of this range-based for loop. And this is much cleaner because now you have the option to declare another variable called multiplier that you can use after this range-based for loop. And this might come in handy in some applications. So we're going to declare it here, for example, multiplier, and give it another value. Let's put in a 54, a 64, why not? And if we print it, now it's going to work, but it is a separate variable from what we had in this range-based for loop. And this is really all we had to share in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. But before we go, we have to run this and make sure it works as we expect. And we're going to clear and run this. And it is doing exactly what we want. Our multiplier variable now is scoped inside this range-based for loop. We are going to stop here in this lecture. The next one, we're going to try and recap what we saw in this chapter. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.